Field, today on this lead up, we're going to be looking at Daredevil.
Oh, the original 3-season show on Netflix that
Not
came out?
that one.
Okay, so Born Again, the one that's coming out now on Disney Plus?
No, that's cool, but not that one. We're talking the 2003 Ben Affleck movie.
Ah, shit.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And welcome to Forgotten Cinema Lead Up. Each episode, we highlight a film from a popular series and follow it all the way to most recent release. We'll discuss what we love about the movie or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it, even the not so good ones. Let's get into it.
I guess that was the opening. I don't know. How you doing, Mike? So yes, this is our lead up series. This is something that fairly new. It was once a Patreon exclusive, then a Patreon
Times exclusive. And now it's just out there.
So with Daredevil Born Again coming out and Mike and I have been, Mike more than me, have been rewatching the original. I'm just falling asleep in episodes and furiously texting Mike going, I hate Foggy. I hate Karen. I hate what is going on here. I don't care about what they're doing. I don't care that she's solving a crime. Like me doing that. Mike had the idea of, hey, why don't we do Daredevil, the Ben Affleck Daredevil from 2003 as our lead up.
Right.
But, and then at first I was like, really? And then he was like, why don't we do the director's cut, which I had never seen.
Which I've seen once.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is not the theatrical. This is the director's cut, which was supposed to be the theatrical.
Until last minute change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So the studio interfered, as usually the case. So we are going to be talking about the Daredevil director's cut movie for our lead up. Mike, how are you doing?
We talked about a lot. It's weird. I usually just go right into my intro.
I know you do.
It's all right.
How to explain it?
I don't know if you know this. I play it off pretty well, but at the age of 12, I was actually blinded by a chemical toxin in my eyes that increased my sense of smell,
Hold up. How would you have been blinded if it wasn't in your eyes?
You can get infections that just end up
in your eyes
in general. Either way, it gave me increased senses other than my sight, which gives me a sense of like an echolocation. I'm able to see the world around me in a different way than you. It gives me perfect balance and also somehow kung fu, even though I was trained by no one in this film. I just know it. I became a lawyer, which I think you also didn't know about by day. And by night, I'm a crime-fighting superhero called Daredevil who rocks some red leather and murders people who, avoid and escape justice.
Yeah. Not as dark, obviously, as the Netflix show, which all the Netflix Marvel shows were dark on purpose. Yeah.
Although Netflix Daredevil doesn't murder people.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Not that I want to jump off on a tangent already. But he's beating the crap out of
some of those people. Definitely,
they're not surviving.
I watched when we're recording this. The first 2 episodes of Born Again already premiered, and in one fight scene, he takes somebody out, not like at the beginning of at the end of the second episode, in just a regular fight, and I'm like, that guy's dead. There's no way that man is not dead. Like he breaks that guy's neck.
Well, they act like in the show, in the original show, that his senses are so attuned that he can't make mistakes. So that's BS. He can clearly make mistakes, and we'll get to that in the movie too. All right, so let's get into so for those who maybe have not listened to a lead up or listened to our original show, the main show that we do, it's pretty much the same thing. We kind of break it down the facts and all that stuff, but so it's just, we're talking about the movie. So Daredevil director's cut has a runtime of it's not 103 minutes. It's 2 hours and 10 minutes, right?
210, 213,
so 130, like 128, 130. Rated PG-13. Well, it's unrated.
The director's cut's unrated.
But it's probably R because he says the F word in it.
They say the F word. Well, they only say it the one time. That actually might be in the PG-13.
Bullseye says the F
Bullseye
word.
says it.
Okay.
But there's also the lady that pulls her top up.
Yeah. When was that?
At the bar, the biker bar, after she puts the booze down so they can burn out and set fire to the stuff.
She put her top up?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
And then,
Jeez, was I sleeping in that scene?
It's really quick. It's
right.
Really quick.
Okay, so this is an unrated, R-ish unrated PG-13. It's somewhere in that realm.
Right.
Production budget was $78 million. It came out. Now, I'm going to give you the theatrical release. obviously that's not the director's cut, but I'm gonna give you some where
Right.
the original movie came up again. So it came out on, of course, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2003. Its opening weekend did $40 million, domestic $102 million, international $77 for a worldwide total of $179 million. Now, comparatively speaking to how the Marvel movies do now, obviously the Marvel movies are wildly more popular, but this is actually not a terrible opening, I don't think. I mean, what were they expecting to you?
I think they were expecting Spider-Man money, but no one knew who Daredevil was before this movie came out. So it's like that's unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Production company was Marvel Enterprises, New Regency, and Horseshoe Bay Productions, and was distributed by 20th Century Fox. So it came out on the 14th of February. Let's go back to the 7th. We had a wide release of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Shanghai Nights, Deliver Us from Eva, and then a limited release of May and Pinocchio, the Roberto Benigni Pinocchio. Wide release on the 14th of The Jungle Book 2, The Hours and Adaptation, and then a limited release that weekend of All the Real Girls, a favorite of mine. The 20th,
some good films there.
Yeah. The 21st, the week after, you had a wide release of Old School, Dark Blue, The Life of David Gale, and Gods and Generals. I always thought Gods and Generals was a TNT film, but it was not. But yeah, Old School. I like Old School.
Old School's good.
You're my boy, Blue.
I'm going to go down to Home Depot. We're going to look at tile samples.
Frank the Tank. All right, anyways. This film is directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who has directed Simon Birch, When in Rome, and Ghost Rider. He also wrote Grumpy Old Men, Big Bully, and Jack Frost, not the Michael Keaton Jack Frost. So we always have to make that distinction here.
Right.
Cinematographer was Eric Sincor, who's done Payback, Invincible, and Mumford. Composer was Graham Revell, who's done the 1994 The Crow, Sin City, and Titan AE.
A movie we did on the podcast.
Nice. Edited by Armin Manassian, who's done iRobot and RoboCop 2, and Dennis Verkler, who's done The Hunt for October and The Fugitive. Both he was nominated for an Oscar for. Great films. Produced by Avi Arad, Gary Foster, and Arnaud Milchan. Arad has done Borderlands and The Incredible Hulk. Foster's done Tin Cup and Sleepless in Seattle, and Milchan has done LA Confidential and The Revenant, for which he was nominated for Best Picture. Ben Affleck is our Matt Murdock / Daredevil in this film. He has, he's won 2 Oscars, neither for acting. Did you know that? Do you know what Oscars
Argo and Hunt for
Best Picture?
Goodwill Hunting.
Yeah, Goodwill Hunting. For writing.
Hunt for Will.
Yeah, one for Best Picture for Argo. I'm surprised he didn't win director for that. I should have looked back and see, because that's a really good film. I never understand when a movie wins Best Picture but doesn't win Best Director. It's like the director is the whole reason why it's the Best Picture. Is one of the main reasons is why it's the Best Picture. I don't understand how that happens.
It's always a big thing, or when the director's not even nominated.
It used to be, up until the late 90s, it used to be always, you won director, you won Best Picture. That's how it was going to be. And that makes sense. It just makes sense. But anyways, I digress. He also has been in The Town, obviously, in Gone Girl. Jennifer Garner as Electra Nachios, 13 going on 30. Juno and the TV show Alias. Colin Farrell as Bullseye, nominated for an Oscar for The Banshees of Inisherin. He's also in Bruges and The Gentleman. Michael Clark Duncan.
In Bruges, an episode we did.
Sorry, apologies. Michael Clark Duncan as Wilson Fisk / The Kingpin, nominated for an Oscar for The Green Mile. He's also in Armageddon and The Whole Nine Yards.
I'm tired, boss.
Jon Favreau as Frankly Foggy Nelson from Chef, Iron Man, and Swingers. Ellen Pompeo as Karen Page. She's not even at that long, from Old School and TV show Grey's Anatomy.
Even less than the regular version, theatrical version.
Yeah. Joe Pantoliano as Ben Urich from The Matrix, The Fugitive, and Bound. Leland Orser as Wesley Owen Welch, from Seven, Taken, and Alien Resurrection.
A movie we did on our lead-up series to Alien Romulus.
Right, which is out now. David Keith. Then you have David Keith as the father, Jack Murdock, Eric Avari as Nicholas Nachios, the father of Electra. He's in you would probably recognize him from The Mummy. Kevin Smith is in there as Jack Kirby, the forensics dude. Robert Eiler from Sopranos plays the bully in the beginning. And then Coolio, of course, Dante plays Dante Jackson, who is not in the theatrical at all. He is, his whole entire thing was cut, which kind of makes sense why the theatrical doesn't make any sense, because kind of like an important part. I don't understand why they cut that stuff. But anyways. All right. So Mike, I had never seen the director's cut. You said you saw it once.
I saw it once. I had bought the Blu-ray or DVD or whatever the director's cut came out, because I didn't own it at the time. And I was just like, oh, a director's cut with like an hour of extra footage. Like what's going on in this movie? Because I had always liked this movie growing up. It came out when I was in high school. It's a very 2000s movie, I knew nothing about Daredevil before that. Then they showed a clip of the bar scene online. That's what like the first thing they released. And I was like, oh man, this superhero looks like he kicks ass. This looks awesome. And I learned a bunch about Daredevil after that. I liked the movie a lot, but I always thought it made no sense why they went after Kingpin, why they were mad about the Kingpin, why they talked about the Kingpin. Why are they going after the Kingpin? I don't understand where this story comes from other than Elektra getting killed. And it's what the director's cut came out. I was like, oh my God, they cut the movie out of this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was always my like the big surprise when I first watched it was just, I can't believe they cut this out. I didn't realize that the movie made no sense without it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like when I watched the theatrical movie, I did not like it. It was very goofy.
It's still kind of
yeah, no. I know. There was a lot of issues. I just didn't like it. This one, it's still got that goofiness, like you say. It's definitely a movie of the early 2000s. You know, all the soundtrack and just the style and the credits and I'm pretty sure the credit font is the same font as Gone in 60 Seconds. You know, so like it's very similar. So there's definitely got that style. It's funny, you don't really recognize the style of a time until you're like 10 years past it.
100. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, back in the day, you wouldn't go, oh man, this is totally a 2000s movie. It's
right.
like now you're like because we talked about the same thing with the one.
When
we did the one, it's just like this is totally a 2000s movie, like Gone in 60 Seconds.
Yeah, you just don't realize it. Like a lot of the mid to late 90s in horror has that scream look. There's like dozens of films that look like that. Yep. So it's very you just never really notice. It's funny that but anyways, yes, it's of that time. The dialogue, I'm not a huge fan of the dialogue. I know that the scene that they rip the most, and the scene that people rip the most is the playground fight scene between Elektra and Murdock.
Right.
And it's still the same. It's just so goofy. And because they're not obviously, I feel like they needed maybe a month more work in terms of their choreography. Do you know what I mean?
For that? Oh yeah.
Yeah. It just doesn't, it's just blah. It's just like, ugh, can we end this? Like, it's like a meet cute that's like, you know.
There's certain action scenes that are really good and certain action scenes that aren't. And it definitely is like, what are we going to spend time and money on? And what aren't we going to spend time on?
So for me, the standout is Colin Farrell, because Colin Farrell like knows what he's doing.
He's so good at
He knows, he like you always say, like he knows the assignment, like they say now. He just, and his movements and his action, he owns that character. Like when it's still corny, it still looks bad because it's CGI, but when he breaks the stained glass and he's catching all the glass like this and like it's so cool, but it's like he's like and he just starts throwing
his eyes every time he's like when he's like killing Elektra, he's like
yeah, and he's like legitimately evil. Like he is just straight up killing people without any care in the world wherever he is,
which is nice. Which like I was telling Elise about that last night before I watched the movie. I watched it today. The one thing I always really like about the movie is that Bullseye's just bad. He's just bad, and it's the same in the kind of the TV show as well. Mm-hmm. Like Bullseye just sucks. He's just such a bad guy, and it's so refreshing when all these villains nowadays like have to have these tragic backstories, and they're not really villains. They're anti-heroes.
They get their own movie.
Own story, and it's just like no, Bullseye is straight up just a psychopath.
You don't, So like the great line in The Dark Knight when Michael Caine as Alfred, some people just want us to watch the world burn. Like that line is all you need to know in that movie about what the Joker is and what you should expect. You should not expect any kind of understanding,
redeeming qualities.
Right.
Yeah.
And because there are bad guys and people like that in the world, in comics, and you should stick with that. And that's quite honestly, when you know who the white hat is and the black hat is, for lack of, then you know, okay, I know who I need to root for.
Right.
And you need that sometimes. I think if Bullseye was the main bad guy I know you need Kingpin. I'm not saying Kingpin shouldn't be in there, but if Bullseye was the main bad guy, I think this movie would probably be a little bit stronger in knowing what it is.
If Bullseye was the main bad guy, you wouldn't need, I mean, if you had cut out like the Kingpin stuff, you would still have a great movie because you're just hunting down a really bad guy. He's murdering people.
I feel like because Kingpin is such a strong, overarching character in the whole, universe of Daredevil and Spider-Man and everything else and Marvel, that you want to have him in there. but you don't. If you're trying to simplify the story, you really don't need him in there.
Well, that's when I was looking up all the stuff about the film. That's what the director said. Mark Steven Johnson said, one of the faults of the film is, and it's my fault, is I'm such a big fan of Daredevil. I tried to put everything in this film.
Yeah.
I copied from, I tried to stuff 4 different comic storylines in there, and it just became overstuffed because I think I was too big of a fan to be the one to write this film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's fair, but also and like what?
It's too late now. You already made it. It's 20 years later, man.
Okay. So and now what?
Right.
Another big fault of the film, which I already brought up, was the dialogue. Like I wrote this line down specifically because as soon as I heard it, I cringed. I don't like the voiceover. We talk about.
I forgot the voiceover was in it. As soon as it started up, I was like, Field's gonna hate this.
Like this line. I waited outside of the Olympic for my father. In some ways, I'm still waiting. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yep.
Like that's something you write in like screenwriting class 101. Like it's no, absolutely not. I can't believe that made that in there. And I was just like, no.
Every line of his voiceover is awful.
I know that the ending. I know that when at the end when they have the voiceover and he's talking about how he's the
Dark Defender or whatever.
No, he's the Guardian Devil. I know that that's from the comic, and I know that image is from the comic.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, I get that. That's fine. I understand that. Plus, but also, and I understand the fact that in a comic book film, it's a lot of voiceover because that's what you're reading on this. You're reading their inner thoughts.
They almost always have it. Yeah.
I know that that's probably a necessary evil of a film like this. So I get that. But dialogue is I couldn't stand some of these lines.
I don't think that's a necessary because you don't get that with Batman. You don't get that with Spider-Man. You don't get that with Superman. You don't get that with X-Men. You don't. I don't think you need it. I mean, I know he's a more solitary hero, but I still don't think you need it.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
There's a couple parts that I like the Matt Murdock Foggy stuff's cool. I think they have a good. Oh, Jon Favreau's just really good at riffing.
Well, Jon Favreau is a likable guy.
So I think he's a good Foggy, and like his scenes with Matt are nice.
Although he does dip into a little bit of some bigotry when after they meet Dante Jackson as he's going to be their client. He's like, I believe him. He's like, what's he going to pay us with? Chronic?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm like, really? Like, okay.
I mean, he had already talked about how he was a big pothead, though. So like. But yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
That's the wrong choice of words.
And I was like, all right, that's okay.
I like the mustard in the cup though. It was pretty good.
Yeah,
that's a lot of mustard. That's a lot of honey. If he did think that was honey, like holy crap, how much are you putting in there?
Yeah,
Daredevil's got diabetes.
And I mean, I got a litany of little things that in the movie that happened that I make me go, really? We're doing like the stuff that happens, and we can go through them as we go.
Sure.
But I mean, and I've got some other plot points. Like, so let's jump to the end because this is my biggest one. The end of the movie, he goes and fights Kingpin, and I like that they said the whole thing with the rain and he could see everything, and like the difference between this Daredevil and the Netflix Daredevil one is like this one's more based on. He sees the world through waveform, sound waves.
Right. That was like my biggest thing too.
Right. Where the show is everything. Like the whole BS nonsense of I can hear you have a hairline fracture in your back.
Well, that's the Daredevil in the comics though.
Yeah,
he knows all that.
Come on.
Because it's so sensitive. I like the look of the echolocation, but I don't like it because you still can't see shit. Like it's still hard to see. So it's like I don't believe he'd be that good at fighting because if that's how he sees everything, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I like that we see that because in the Netflix show, you see one clip where it's like, I see a world on fire and it's like 2 seconds.
Yeah, they show it once. I'm surprised they never gone back to it.
Yeah, they never go back. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay. We're just never going to go back.
I don't know why they just don't go back to it.
Yeah.
Anyways. So my big thing at the end is he goes and he fights Kingpin. Beats the crap out of him. Kingpin takes his mask off, leaves it. And he's just like, he's going to, he fights him. He throws the weapon. He kicks it down, whatever. He's like, no, they're going to, he lets him live because he's like, those sirens are for you.
Right.
And then he just leaves. Doesn't take his mask.
Yeah, about it.
Doesn't take the weapon, just leaving it there for the police to grab, to take DNA samples from. You're in the system because you're a lawyer with the city. So you're in the system. We don't care about you being found out.
I mean, they've already got one of his billy clubs.
But that's the other thing. He never goes back and gets it. He doesn't make more than one billy club. Like,
well, he's got a whole bunch hooked up in his apartment.
But
in his
he only using one
apartment.
towards the end of the film. He doesn't have another one.
Because he goes straight from losing. No. You're right. Yeah. Because that's the previous day.
So,
yeah.
Like, what? And then did you read the thing? Did you read the note where in the scene when they were showing the weapon, the cane with Kevin Smith and Joe Pantoliano?
Oh, it's the wrong color.
It was the color. So they had to CGI the color because they didn't have the right. You want to ask about where the budget went? Wow. Like you didn't have it in time?
Apparently it was a $50 million budget, and because of the success of Spider-Man, they were like, "Oh, you want more money?" And then they gave him the extra 30.
Also, do they explain how Matt Murdock learned to be a martial artist?
No, that was my thing when I was like, I know martial arts for no reason.
Yeah,
because they don't. There's no stick in this movie.
Yeah,
so there's no one that teaches him. There's not even a shot where his father teaches him boxing.
Yeah, it's
just automatically like, oh no, he just knows martial arts.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't make any sense. I get it. If they also put stick in this movie, that's too much. That is so much extra crap and characters. But like, give me someone that like my dad hired a fight trainer or somebody that he had used or knew. Like, give me somebody that knows about fighting.
Yeah. Did you like the action scenes?
So I talked about like some of them are really well done. Some of them aren't. I mean, before the movie came out, they released the fight with the Nickelback song when he kills the first guy in the bar. Yeah, the bar scene. That's cool. I liked that.
I just thought that the strobe lights and the cuts made it tough to understand what was going on.
It's a little tough to understand, but it kind of plays with his senses.
Maybe.
But it's definitely tough. It's cool. It's dark.
And he's killing people, though.
He's killing people. It's cool.
Yeah.
The fight scene with Elektra in the playground is not that great.
No.
The fight scene on the rooftop between Elektra and Bullseye is not the best either.
No.
The fight scene between Daredevil and Kingpin, though, is really cool. And I think they did a really good job showcasing Kingpin's strength. He tosses him around like a rag doll,
but
and it looks really good.
You're skipping the Bullseye Daredevil fight, though, before that.
Oh, before that? Yeah, because that's very much like the one where he takes the two motorcycles and goes like that.
It's also
when
very...
He jumps up.
It's clearly...
The jump kick.
It's very much like The Matrix when they've obviously started falling in love with the CGI people and when he's jumping around and he's jumping from organ pipe to organ pipe.
Oh, yeah. Like, the church fight. Yeah, the church fights.
Yeah.
The church fight was never very good.
No. Yeah.
So it's very 50-50. Some of the stuff that's more grounded is really cool, but when they start doing too much superhero stuff, that's when it gets kind of unrealistic. And I think the thing that people want to see in Daredevil, because of the comic books and now the Netflix show, but like obviously there's no Netflix show back then, but like you want like a gritty thing. You want it to be different. And then they go, oh, let's put a little Spider-Man in there. Like, I feel like that Spider-Man influence is there. In those fights.
This is after Spider-Man 2 came out before this, 2002?
2002, I think, is Spider-Man 2. 99 is Spider-Man.
And that's obvious. And that's
not
arguably
2001 is Spider-Man.
One of the better Marvel films throughout Spider-Man 2.
A lot of people consider that to be one of the best.
Arguably.
The best superhero films.
Yeah, exactly. It's just really well made. Yeah, there's a reliance on the CGI. You talk about the fight on the rooftop with Elektra. I forgot she died. and as he stabs her, I'm just like, wait a minute, doesn't she have another movie coming out? I also like, wait a minute, what is it? So then I start looking it up. I'm like, oh, she comes back to life?
Isn't that the premise of the second movie? Like she finds herself
Stick brings her back to life.
In the movie?
Yes.
Oh, who plays Stick in that?
I have no idea. I didn't go that deep.
I know Typhoid Mary is the main bad guy.
Right. Typhoid Mary is played by the woman who was up for the role of Elektra in the first film. And then Stick brings her back to life to fight against the Hand. I guess he teaches her some more stuff. I don't know. You
got to learn more.
I had to look it up because I'm watching it going like, I did not know that he killed her. So. And then he finds the Braille.
The Braille necklace. He's like, I could use one of those. Yeah.
Hanging. So then I guess you're supposed to know that she's alive at that point. So, I mean, not that I wanted to rush to go watch Elektra, but Maybe just the opening to see
what happened. I've never seen it, so I'm kind of.
Oh, really?
I never watched it because I heard it was so bad.
It
so
is.
like
The only thing I remember about Elektra, and I said this to you when we were watching Daredevil, was this, and it wasn't from this movie. I was remembering it from the Elektra film. Was she's training outside and there's curtains flowing or something,
The
and
only
she's
image
doing
I
all
have
these
from the
moves.
trailer, the curtains in the
That's
hallway.
the only thing I remember from Electric. I don't remember anything else from that movie, and I know I watched it. Like in this film, she's training with bags of sand in this giant room, and all I'm thinking, like, who's cleaning this up? Like, why are we doing this? Why are we putting bags of sand in your giant ballroom?
And who trained her? Why is she a ninja?
Frick if I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
There's too many characters to introduce.
How about when Nicholas Nachios gets killed, and then Daredevil runs away, right? Daredevil gets out of there. She thinks it's Daredevil, so she picks the gun up
And she just shoots into
and
an
just
apartment
starts
building.
firing into the night sky.
No, she fires into an apartment building.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, she's just stricken by grief.
And why is, so now we're just getting into it. Why is Foggy a terrible lawyer? Why can he not do his job if Matt's not there?
I mean, he ended up doing a good job because, like, he did most of the case.
They make it come off like he's terrible.
But he's a little flustered. I think that is something they also play with in the Netflix show is, like, Matt's the guy that talks to the jury. Matt's that guy.
Sure, I get it. But, like,
Foggy's the
Foggy's
legwork
not an
guy.
idiot.
Yeah. No, I also didn't know. I also didn't know, like, oh, these notes are in Braille. You don't have 2 copies of the notes?
So in the director's cut, they obviously have the Dante Jackson stuff, which is he's being set up for a murder of a prostitute.
Right.
Because it was actually
Wesley
who did it because the person knew something.
She had information on Kingpin.
Right.
Yeah.
And
she was Ben. She was Ben's informant,
Ben
I
Urich's.
think.
Yeah. And the cop, the head cop, or the guy that lead
on the case
detective
helped cover it up.
And Matt Murdock can't figure out why he doesn't know he's lying. And then you find out that he has a pacemaker and that's why he couldn't tell. But my question to you is, he couldn't hear the electric impulses from the pacemaker getting the heart to beat in rhythm.
I thought the same thing. It was my thought.
That's what it's doing.
When he rips open his shirt and goes, oh, it's a pacemaker.
It's like, you can't hear that.
You can't hear it or sense it. You're supposed to sense electrical signals.
Right. It's not the Caterpillar Drive on Hunt for October. It's
nice reference. It didn't,
I'm here for the obscure movie references, people.
It just didn't make a lot of sense. But then I read it was from the comics. I was like, all right. But then the comic was dumb for not having like.
He would hear that.
He can sense everything. He senses electrical impulses. He knows where everything is, but he can't sense someone's got like a robot part in their heart. Like it didn't make sense to me.
And you brought this up with the problem you had in the theatrical was why are they going after Kingpin? Yeah. I don't think they addressed that here either, because there's no reason when Kingpin's like, he's coming here. He's going to come here. He tells everyone to leave to get ready for him to come here.
Yeah.
Why would he? So Kingpin is figuring that Bullseye would tell Daredevil about him. Because at some point he doesn't. Daredevil's just fighting Bullseye, and let's say he doesn't kill Bullseye. He throws him, which I mean he pretty much wants to kill him, but he throws him down. And he cripples him. So Kingpin is because Daredevil beat Bullseye. He's gonna figure out that he's the Kingpin. Yeah. There's no reason why Daredevil. You should think that Daredevil would know you're the Kingpin.
Would all of a sudden assume
right. There's no way. I mean, there's no reason for him to assume that you're the bad guy.
True, and there's no reason for him to automatically assume that Wilson Fisk is a bad guy as well.
Right.
In general, when they go to the gala, it's like we only represent the innocent.
Yeah.
It's like, what told you that Fisk isn't innocent?
Yeah, like I know
Unless you know he's Kingpin.
His office is clearly some kind of evil layer, so it's shaped up to that. But like
where he just murders his security indiscriminately.
Like, with the show, obviously the show has the benefit of having multiple episodes, and you can build up the character of Wilson Fisk, who played awesomely by Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yes.
So you have that luxury, but like, what does Fisk do in this movie universe that we've created for this Daredevil movie? What does he do?
You don't get to know, which is, again, because they have too many characters. You know, he was just muscle for Fallon or whatever, the mob boss they create for this one in the past, who killed Matt's father. He was just like the muscle guy. Took over for Fallon and now has a legitimate business, but you don't know what that business is.
Right.
You don't know how he rose the ranks that high.
Yeah.
Like Fallon was a street level thug mafia guy. He was just fixing fights.
Yeah.
Wilson Fisk is like Lex Luthor in this. So yeah. Which he is in the comics as well.
Yeah.
But you don't know how he got to that in this.
And then there's a point in the movie where we just pause for a music video from Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. And it's just Elektra training and Daredevil around. And it's a straight up music video. Like we just stopped the movie midway. I'm waiting for the little MTV credits to pop on the bottom. And I'm like, okay, what's going on?
I mean, that's I think just a symptom of being from the early 2000s.
I don't care.
That just is what it is.
I also love the line in the movie when Daredevil is talking to, I guess it's Fisk, where he's like, I've only loved two people. He's like, you killed the only two people I love. I'm like, you don't love Foggy?
Yeah. In this movie, he really could give two shits about Foggy. Whereas like in the Netflix show, and I think in most of the comics, Foggy is kind of like his only family. Like he doesn't have family. He's got Foggy. In the comics, Karen Page is dead. In the comics, Elektra dies 1,000 times, different times. Yeah. It's like all he ever has is Foggy and his religion. That's all Matt Murdock ever has.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I knew that it was a big part of the show, him being Catholicism and him being Catholic, and quite honestly, I got sick and tired. I mean, I'm only through the first season, but like enough with the priest. I mean, I'm talking about the show now.
Like to the third season.
I know enough with the
second season doesn't have a lot.
Enough with visiting the church. But anyways, I didn't realize that it was such a big part of the Daredevil comic. So, and then when it shows up in the movie, I'm just like, oh, okay. I guess this is a huge part of that character, which is cool. I actually like the interactions with the priest.
The priest in this one.
Yeah. And I do, and I actually like at the end of and I don't want to compare them, but we're going to. The show is so dour and down that you don't get to have the moment like Ben Urich at the end of the movie when he's like, go get him, Matt. Like you don't get that moment where he's going to write the story. And then I just love the fact that he just pulls the delete button. He writes the entire story and then just holds down, just cancel the file. You don't like, he just holds down the delete button to watch it all get deleted. Like just close the file out and don't save it. But I like, you don't get that moment in the show ever when you have like, go get him, Matt. Like that's a cool movie moment. Right. And it's a cool thing because he knows he can hear him. And he knows that that's like, yeah, all right, let me go do my job. And you're like, oh, cool. You don't get that in the show. And
because the show just kills Ben Urich. It goes, you want Ben Urich? We'll give you Ben Wilson Fisk strangles him to death after you meet his dying wife.
Yeah, God, don't give Wilson Fisk any bad news.
You met my mother.
Mr. Fisk, the deli was out of Swiss cheese, so I told him to put mustard in.
You know, I was fine when you insulted me about the type of bread, but when you talk about my cheeses, that crosses a line.
Hey, where's Charlie? Yeah, Fisk headbutted him to death because he messed up his deli order.
Yeah, he gave him provolone. He clearly asked for cheddar.
So put another ad on Indeed.com, please. Thanks.
Don't tell that man you can't get him any eggs. Man needs his scrambled eggs every day.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's good that you get that moment in the movie, but you're never going to get that in the show, which is kind of, God, you just, every time I'm only in season 1, I get it. But every time I walk away from the episode, I'm just like, ugh.
There are moments of lightness in the show that I just think there needs more of that, or they need to cap it at the end of some episodes.
Sure.
Because I know you don't like Foggy, but I like
No, I don't.
that Foggy brings out the lightness in Matt Murdock.
Let me be clear. I don't not like the actor or the character. Like, I don't like any, I'm fine with the actors. It's the way they're written. I don't like the way the characters are written because they're clearly just they're not giving anything interesting to do in the show. They're not. They're filler.
Right.
A lot of the stuff they're doing is filler and it's not interesting. Like, I don't care about, Foggy wanting to help that mother, the elderly woman in that.
Miss Cardenas?
Yeah. I don't like all they set that whole thing up like, ooh, Foggy on the date night. Like that whole thing is just so that when the thing the building next to them explodes and then they're involved in that. It's just they from the jump, they had no idea what to do with those characters. And they may have those characters now. Like I know D'Onofrio was talking about how like those characters are their characters from now and forever. And that's great. But there's just nothing for them to do in the show ever. And in this movie, they're second fiddle, especially Karen, but Foggy's second fiddle to Matt.
Yeah. I mean, Foggy solves the case, but he kind of like stumbles into it.
Yeah.
Because Karen flips a note upside down. But yeah, I agree with that. I think the show and like the movie, like those moments of levity are nice because I think you can't have It's the same with Bruce Wayne in Batman, and I love Batman. You know, he's my second favorite superhero. We're very close to.
I think we've talked,
Superman
and
is
we've
the
talked
thing.
about
We've
this
talked about
before.
Like Bruce Wayne is just always so dour. And I get it. His parents are dead, and that's the joke. He's almost the butt of jokes about how dour he is all the time.
Yeah.
But like, there are moments where it's like him and Alfred have like moments where it's like lightness, where they kind of make a little jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's nice. And it's fun to see because no one's that dour all the time.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. So I like when, like in the TV show or in this, where Matt and Foggy are talking and they're like joking and they have a regular life because that's how it would be.
Yeah, sure. And we talk. I think I've talked about this. I think on the show is the trick to Batman is not how you play Batman. It's how you play Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Like if you're a good Bruce Wayne, then the Batman stuff's easier. It's the easier stuff to do.
Yeah.
The Bruce Wayne stuff is difficult. And I think obviously Michael Keaton is the best of that. But even Ben Affleck, when he played Batman, he was a good Bruce Wayne. Like,
he was a good Bruce Wayne.
He is one of the my favorite lines in. Oh man,
Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, when Flash is asking him like, "What's your superpower?" He's like, "I'm rich." Like, and I'm just like, "Yeah, all right." Like that's good. That's a great line.
I like the end of Justice League where Clark's like, "How'd you save the farm?" "Oh, I bought the bank."
Yeah,
and he just says it like matter of fact.
Yeah. Like that's Bruce Wayne. I think they capture that, and in Michael Keaton's Batman. And when he's Bruce Wayne, he captures that too.
He's got moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Vicky. Come on down. Come see the cave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, who let Vicky Vale into the Batcave? Talk about security.
Terrible. But to this point with Daredevil, I think you have to play Matt Murdock. You have that luxury that not a lot of other superheroes have, where you can play
two
different. Yes. Like you can't do that with Iron Man. You can't do that with the Hulk. You know, like you have to be able to play both. So
like Matt Murdock, Peter Parker, Clark Kent.
Yes,
those guys have day jobs, so you can play with that.
So and it's a different style between the show and the movie, and they're different Matt Murdocks.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both their hairs are messed up apparently because, you know, blind people can't fix their hair. I guess that's what they're trying to say there.
Charlie Cox's hair is all over the place, and every episode of Daredevil is different.
I know. So, and it's interesting because with Charlie Cox's, they just have him looking off, but they actually gave Affleck those contact lenses that basically made him blind.
Yeah. I never know which one I prefer because I like how Charlie Cox plays, you know, not looking at anybody, whereas Ben Affleck kind of just always looks straight.
I think that just shows you the damage that the chemicals did in the eye, and I think that makes it more palpable for me. It makes sense more that there is scarring there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because Ben Affleck's also got scarring.
Yeah,
around his eyes
that
as
makes more sense to me. And it's probably for budget reasons that they don't do it for the show.
Lens,
but it makes more sense to me that there would be something visibly off about the eyes because something happened.
Yeah. It's not like he was born blind.
Yes. Or exactly.
Yeah.
So that makes more sense. Let me give you some reviews. These are reviews of the director's cut.
Oh, okay.
So
interesting.
Again, I was able to find those. So Danny Graydon of Empire called it a considerable improvement on the original version, notably preferring the more violent undertones, a lesser focus on the romance, and an equal focus of Daredevil and his lawyer alias Matt Murdock, and the subplot involving Coolio. So it's a lot of stuff that we said.
Yeah.
That it was actually, you know,
it makes the movie make sense.
Yeah. IGN's Jeff Otto and Andy Patrizio deemed this version an improvement over the original. They felt this version was more loyal to the Frank Miller Field Daredevil world, with more focus on themes such as Murdoch's struggle with his Catholic upbringing. Now, I don't know the comics, and you might know it more than me, so I don't know if like what Frank Miller's feel for Daredevil world was. I don't know.
Frank Miller's set that kind of. Daredevil was a superhero.
Right.
And like, I think it's Frank, if I'm not mistaken, and people can tell me I'm wrong in the comics, I'm sure they
tell him he's wrong.
I think he's the one that really established his Catholicism in his run of the comics. He's the one that really established that dark tone that everyone latched onto and ran with because it made Daredevil more interesting, darker. It really set him apart from any normal like street level hero because he's kind of, if you take that stuff away, Daredevil's very generic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really sets him apart. So I think that's what Frank Miller did. And that's really where it all started.
It gave him another layer other than the fact that he's blind and his senses help him become.
Yeah, you're right. Other than his superpowers.
Right. Because that shouldn't just make the person like it. Just the fact that you're blind.
Yeah. Spider-Man isn't the most popular superhero because he's got spider powers. It's because people relate to Peter Parker so
right.
much. Yeah.
Sure. And I think it's good to have a superhero who is trying to weigh what he does, and especially when he's violent and he's killing people, what he does with who he is as a person, where he's come from, what his belief system are, what his faith is. I think that's another layer to the Daredevil character that's really good that a lot of others don't have.
Yeah.
I think that helps with the story. I already know the answer to this. Vin Diesel is going to be Daredevil.
I saw those notes, but he chose to do Chronicles of Riddick,
which is a good move.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what would we have gotten?
You would have gotten something really generic. I mean, I'm not saying Vin Diesel's a bad actor because he just chooses movies where he doesn't have to act. Like he skates by. But I really like him in, well,
he's a movie star. He's a movie
Boiler
star.
Room. What's the movie he wrote?
Did he write Boiler Room?
No, he didn't write Boiler Room.
He's done a couple short films.
He did one that got him the role of Pitch Black. He did the one that got him the role in Save Private Ryan. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what he was, a bartender, and he did a couple short films.
Yeah.
And then,
Find Me Guilty or whatever. I think he's good in that. You know, he can act if he's given the opportunity, but he chooses to just do. I mean, don't get me wrong, $80 bajillion to do Fast and Furious.
He's a movie star.
He's a movie star.
He's a movie star now. There's a difference. There's a difference between like actors, movie stars, celebrities. There's a line.
Sure,
Some people can do all of it. Some people can't. Tom Cruise. I think Tom Cruise is a really good actor. We've talked about it before, but he's a celebrity.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I think Vin Diesel is just like, he just stands like Ben Affleck. If you white, you Ben Affleck. He's just another white dude in the crowd. He's tall, but he's.
Oh, that's
no, what?
That's Dunkings. It's Mr. Dunkings.
That's Dunkings. I like Ben Affleck a lot. I do. I love the Dunkings commercials, but he is just kind of like a white guy. Vin Diesel's got a really established look. He's like an interesting looking person. And I think like walking around, you'd be like, that guy's fucking Daredevil.
But
like he would just know.
But you're talking about now, like Vin Diesel now, he's Toretto. He's always going to be Toretto.
Yeah.
He's always.
But even then, I just don't think like I'm just talking to a guy walking down the street. He's like not innocuous.
Well, I think because the show is so popular that I don't think there's other reasons. There's other things that people are going to remember Affleck for. Like they're going to remember from Armageddon and Pearl Harbor. They're not going to remember from Daredevil.
Oh yeah, no.
Like
Yeah. Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, Argo. Even the updated Batman ones when he plays Batman. That's how he's known for. He's not, because the show and because it's been like 20 something years, people are going to forget that he was Daredevil.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I got to stop saying 100%.
Usually on the show we say, hey, who you recommend this to? But we don't do that here. It's not forgotten. I mean, we just talked about how it might be a little forgotten.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you might forget he was there, but you'll remember.
Right.
Oh yeah, there was that Daredevil film.
Right. So I mean, you kind of want I don't want to say recommend it, but I kind of wish the director's cut was the only cut out there. Now I kind of wish they got rid of the theatrical cut, because if you're going to go back and watch this show, you probably want to watch the director's cut, because it's not going to be as perfect as any movie is going to be, but it's at least a good watch. It's at least a pleasurable watch. It's not like all the stuff we talked about is in terms of like what doesn't work.
Right.
That will still be there, but it's not going to be as infuriating as the theatrical watch was.
It's nice to watch an early 2000s film because, like we say, a lot of the complaints we have are more like, I feel like because things are dated.
Well, because they're dated, but also there's subplots. There's plot stuff that don't make sense.
Yeah, but like, it's like you said, it's a pleasurable watch. It's fun. It moves, even with the added stuff. It moves pretty well. But yeah, the regular cut, just once you see the director's cut, it's just like, how could they cut the plot of the movie out? It's just
because they wanted a PG-13 film.
They did, yeah.
And that's why. They wanted the dollars. And I don't know if this would have made the same amount of money if it was rated R, even though it was a better film. I mean, that's a tough thing to wonder, because you're trying to get from the studio's perspective, you're trying to get as many people as you can in the first week or two, because that's where you're going to make your most money. And then and then after that and then take it out, go to DVD, and that's where you get the bulk of your film. So it's not like it's a Spielberg film or Oscar darling or a Christopher Nolan film
making money over time.
Right. Where you don't put a movie out like that because you're looking to make money. You put a movie out like that because you're looking to get awards, and you're looking to get cred, and you're looking to get more people to work with you to do serious films. There's certain movies that fit that kind of
criteria.
That bucket. Daredevil is an action film, a superhero action film. And this is obviously before Marvel becomes a thing. This is the first movie that uses the Marvel pages.
I know it was so similar to what they use now. I thought that was kind of cool.
It's the first one that used it. So they're trying to capture that. They're trying to capture that money first. They're trying to capture just like, let's get everyone in PG-13. PG-13 is not something. It's suggested. It's not it's nothing. Nobody's restricted. Anybody can see it.
Yep.
and they're trying to get those preteen dollars. So
And they did that with The Punisher, and everybody hated The
yes,
Punisher.
but
Although I like that
but that's the choice. That's the choice
Yeah.
they make, and that's the kind of you have to going into a movie. If it was going to be PG-13, then maybe you have that luxury of preparing for that. But when you're going in to do an R-rated film, and then they say no, cut everything, well, your story's screwed.
We'll be talking about that in our upcoming episode of Teaching Mrs. Tingle. They did that.
Oh, that's right. That's coming soon. All right. So yeah. So, I mean, I'm glad I watched it. Glad I went back. I mean, I'm still trying to get through the show so I can watch Born Again. Mike's already ahead of me there.
Yep.
But I watched a lot more of the stuff that Mike does.
That's true. That's not. I don't not admit that. So thanks for watching the show. We hope you enjoyed it. We might do a Born Again episode. We talked about maybe doing like TV shows at some point, not specifically Daredevil, but like maybe getting into it. So maybe that'll be our first.
Here's the thing with the TV shows. I think that it depends on the success of this channel. That if we created another channel, then we would do TV shows for that one.
Do a test one.
We'll see.
But yeah, we'll see.
Let's see how we're doing.
But if you guys enjoyed this, we have a lot of other lead ups. We did the whole Alien series. We've done like Shadow the Vampire before we did Nosferatu. So they don't necessarily have to be.
We did the Roadhouse with
Roadhouse before the Jake Gyllenhaal one.
Yeah.
So we do lead ups. They don't necessarily have to be the exact, the prequel to the new movie coming out. It just they're related or they're of the same character, genre, story, whatever.
And with the exception of this lead up, we usually have a now showing that follows. So that's what Mike's talking about Born Again.
Right.
So like a lot of our lead ups, there will be a now showing. So we did the Aliens franchise lead ups because we did a now showing for Alien Romulus.
Yep.
So that's kind of how it works. That's in our brains. That's what we're trying to do here.
And if you like that, if you want to hear more, we do our Forgotten Cinema show, the main show. I'm sure most of you who are watching this already know that. But if you don't every Wednesday we come out with a new episode of Forgotten Films that seem to be forgotten by audiences, whether because a more popular movie came out at the same time or the film simply didn't catch on with the audience in its initial run. So check that out. We do films that maybe you didn't hear about, maybe you have. You can check them out, watch the movie beforehand, and we'll discuss all the movie kind of in the same format as this show.
Yeah, every Wednesday, new episode.
Yep.
Awesome. So thanks for checking us out. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Have a great week or have a great day, wherever you're doing. Until then, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema Lead Up. Daredevil, 2003, Director's Cut. Oh my God, that's a mouthful. Hey, thanks for watching our lead up episode for Daredevil. If you liked, if you want to hear us talk more about Marvel stuff, we actually did a now showing for Captain America: Brave New World. So check that out. That was more recent, and we both like that one. What else did we do, Mike?
If you want to go from almost the beginning of our lead up series, we did the original Roadhouse before the Jake Gyllenhaal one came out. So check that out. The lead up for Roadhouse, the original Patrick Swayze. Lead up.
And as always, every Wednesday we have a new show for Forgotten Cinema, so check us out. Subscribe, please. Like, rate, review, comment. We like to engage. So that's it. So yeah, thanks. Take care. Hey, Jinx, buy me a Coke.